You are welcomed. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcomed. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. Sing with me. You are welcomed. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcome. You are welcomed. You are welcomed in this place. You are welcomed in this place. In every way, you are welcomed in this place. Well, good morning to everybody. Top of the morning to you. It's a brand new day, y'all, and I am so glad to be here with you. Now, I want to share this song with you that I would be singing if I was at my church home this morning. So that means I need you to move back and forth. Yep, make sure, shake it out, make sure all the hands are moving, and I need you to clap with me. And the song is about joy, and it goes like, it says, come on and bless the Lord with me. You ready? It goes like this. Come on and bless the Lord with me. Come on and bless the Lord with me. Come on and bless the Lord with me. Woo! Come on and bless the Lord with me. Hallelujah. 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 Woo! Hallelujah. Okay, y'all got that? Sounded good? Okay, now the next one says, come on and clap your hands with me. So I want y'all to be clapping. I can really hear you in my extra sensory. Here we go. Come on and clap your hands with me. Come on and clap your hands with me. Woo. Come on and clap your hands with me. Yeah, come on and clap your hands with me. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Woo. Hallelujah. Woo. Hallelujah. The next one says, sing. Come on and sing this song with me. Come on and sing this song with me. Come on, y'all. Come on and sing this song with me. Woo! Come on and sing this song with me. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yes. Woo-wee.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Barbara Myers, and I have been a member of this congregation for 34 years. My husband, John, and I raised our 2 kids in this beloved community. I've worn many hats, as many of us do here: religious education, the board, chalice circles, choir, women's retreat, green team, and a little plug here, the UU auction coming up in only 2 weeks. Whatever I do here, my life has been enriched for these 34 years, and I thank all of you for that. I stay because UUCD is my spiritual home, and I stay because you are my beloved community. So, welcome to the online service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. We're so glad each of you are able to join us this morning, and together in community, we can ensure that social distancing does not mean social disengagement. Our weekly services are more than just a gathering of our physical bodies. It is the forming of a sacred time that we make together. Whether you are well-versed in the technology of teleconferencing, or this is your first venture, we welcome you. For those of you new among us or reconnecting with fonder hearts, we invite you to introduce yourself and where you are connecting from in the chat box as you are comfortable. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, whatever your theological stance, whatever your heritage, whoever you are, and whomever you love, we welcome you. You can learn more about us on our website and Facebook page. We encourage you to share our Facebook page and reach out to others who might be isolated at this time and may benefit from the spiritual connection with our loving community. And after the service, we invite you to stay and participate in a breakout group for individual connections and deeper check-ins. And now for a few announcements. Today is the deadline for items for the online auction. Send your items and ideas to that dedicated auction email on the screen. And we are also seeking matching donations. Contact Eva for that. And we are excited to announce that we will have a totally fun live event, which will include live auction items, prizes, entertainment, all on the magic of Zoom. Mark your calendars. That will be Sunday, December 6th at 5 p.m. And finally, if you are a visual artist, Jerry is getting together the first ever UUCD Zoom holiday concert, is looking for winter-themed artwork and images. It is such a joy to have the privilege of welcoming our presenter today, Dr. Kathy Bullock. Kathy is a professor emeritus of music at Berea College in Berea, Kentucky, where she worked for almost 30 years. She is also currently an adjunct professor of music at the University of Kentucky School of Music. Kathy grew up in an African-American Baptist church in Washington, D.C., where her father was a pastor. She earned an MA and PhD in music theory from Washington University in St. Louis and a BA in music from Brandeis. Her work has included teaching music, general studies courses, directing the college gospel choirs, and designing and implementing international courses in West Africa and the Caribbean. Dr. Bullock is now performing and conducting workshops in African-American sacred music throughout the US, Europe, and Africa, sharing hope and joy during these challenging times. And we are so lucky to have her with us today. Welcome, Kathy. And again, welcome everyone to the UU Congregation of Danbury. Well, we welcome all in a spirit of compassion, inquiry, and service.
Thank you, Barbara. I've had the joy of knowing Barbara now for a couple of years, and we met in singing connections with singing groups where we got to do, and you all know Barbara jams, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't know, she could sing and jam. But we've been jamming together. Greetings to every one of you. I am so delighted to be here to see your lovely faces. I'm saying a collective hug to every one of you. I'm just filled with joy because guess what? I got to wake up today. Yes, that simple, Barbara. There were many who did not. We start there. Okay, and then the hands, most of the time they're moving and, you know, sometimes they're moving, creaking, but they are. And so in this beautiful day, getting a chance to share with you what I love, how great is that? To people who have been so warm and welcoming already. Thank you to everybody who has welcomed me to this space. Today, in this brand new day, the first question that many of you were asked is to talk about how music impacts your life. And I wrote down some of the words that you said. It takes me from sadness to peace, the quickest way I know. It's invigorating. Music is healing power. It's strength in difficult times. Jerry played phenomenal spirituals in a beautiful way. Hold on, keep going, just a closer walk on. All of those things, yes, and more, we will examine and we will share today, particularly through African-American music, African-American sacred songs. We'll use that as a window into African-American culture. So these songs of challenge, trials, new beginnings, of overcoming incredible odds, about overcoming ongoing faith and hope and power and holding up the light. So in the spirit of the African word and symbol, Sankofa, we will look back, honoring the ancestors' journey as it aids us to then move forward, sharing our light. It's time for the lighting.
If you have a chalice or a candle nearby, I invite you to light it now as I light the chalice here in honor of our community coming together. Let's say together the chalice lighting affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. It is good to be together. If there are children and youth who are in the room but not near the screen, I want to invite you to come over now so that you can see the pictures for the story that I'll be sharing with everyone this morning. While you're on your way over, let me share that today we begin the Mitten Tree Gift Collection Project for folks connected with the Interfaith AIDS Ministry, an organization that a former member of this congregation helped start. I've learned since joining you in March that this congregation has a long history of sharing winter holiday gifts for folks affected by HIV/AIDS and their family members. Today we'll begin this year's Mitten Tree project in a few ways. Most importantly, during the offering this morning, I'm going to post in our Zoom chat the link to sign up for gift giving for this project. Please sign up today if you're in a position to give a gift this year, or look for the link in your This Week email later in the coming week. We'll be collecting gifts on December 13th, and we'll need lots of participants to make sure that there is something for everyone who has a wish for the holidays. A couple of other ways you can participate in the Mitten Tree celebrations today. First, we are decorating the tree/pine bush behind the pride flag near the parking lot entry sign. You're invited to stop by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury today while wearing a mask and keeping a distance if anyone else happens to be around. Please note that the doors to the inside of the building can't be opened for you, including for bathroom access. Those need to stay shut. But please look in the smaller storage bin outside the entry doors to the Fellowship Hall building for cranberries and popcorn to string, and the sewing needles and string and other materials you'll need to do it. I've also sent home a copy of mittens that kids and teens can cut out, decorate, and save to put on your Christmas tree at home when you get that up, or even just put on your refrigerator to help you remember to get Mitten Tree gifts. And having finished that long announcement, let's say together the children's affirmation and have a story. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Our time for all ages story this morning is Sing a Song, How Lift Every Voice and Sing Inspired Generations, written by Kelly Starling Lyons and illustrated by Keith Mallett. I'm going to read almost all of it. Before you were born, a girl learned a song. Her principal, James Weldon Johnson, and his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, had written the hymn for a celebration of President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. The girl wanted to make them proud. She hummed the song on her way home from school. She practiced it as she did her chores. On the big day, February 12th, 1900, she was part of a choir 500 strong. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. And she kept on singing as she grew up. She taught it to her students when she became a teacher. She crooned it to her husband as they journeyed from Jacksonville, Florida, to a new life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She sang it when she rocked her baby boy to sleep. It was part of her she wanted to pass on. And you know what? Her little boy learned that song. He listened to her hum it as she dreamed of being able to teach again in her new home. He heard his daddy sing it when the days at the steel mill wore him down. Then one day he stood in the choir loft and gazed at the glowing faces. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, he sang, let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. And he kept on singing. He sang it when he came back from World War II and faced discrimination. He sang it when he joined the NAACP. He sang it with his wife and to his baby daughter as he rocked her to sleep. It was a part of him he wanted to pass on. And you know what? His little girl learned that song. She sang it each morning at school. Then came the day that broke the nation's heart. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. The next morning, she saw her teacher cry. Sobs replaced singing, then whimpers and silence. Who would lead them now? The song whispered in answer. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us And she kept on singing. She sang it at protests for equal rights, and when she and her friends were jailed. She sang that song in her heart each time she won or lost a case as a lawyer. She sang it to her baby boy as she rocked him to sleep. It was part of her she wanted to pass on. And you know what? Her little boy learned that song. Every family reunion opened with that anthem. He sang because he had to at first, but then something changed. He saw the awe in his grandparents' faces, saw the pride in his mamas and pops. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, he sang, "Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us." And he kept on singing. He sang it at his college graduation and when he opened his first business. He sang it at rallies to fight against racism. He sang it holding his wife's hand at Black History programs and when he rocked his daughter to sleep. It was a part of him he wanted to pass on. And you know what? His little girl learned that song. And on another big day, September 24th, 2016, she stood in a crowd with thousands along with her mommy and daddy. President Obama, the First Lady, and generations of one family rang the freedom bell. A dream born a century ago to honor Black lives and contributions had finally come true. The National Museum of African American History and Culture was officially open. With the Washington Monument piercing the sky, that little girl stared at the bronze building, majestic as a crown. As bells around the nation tolled in triumph, she heard a voice rising too. Clear and strong, it was a song she heard her parents sing. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. And you know what? That song is still sung. People call it the Black National Anthem as they keep singing, keep pushing, keep passing it on, and keep on keeping on. Please join me in the spirit of meditation and compassionate attention as we enter into a time of community sharing. You're invited to use the chat window of Zoom for the sharing of deep sorrows and joys this morning. You may also wish to recognize the sharing of joys and sorrows by silently dropping a stone in a bowl or lighting a candle. Let us now share with one another.
everyone. It is now time for our congregational offering. And if you are with us for the first time, we invite you to pass the virtual plate because your presence with us today is your gift to us. Members, we invite you to express your generosity by clicking the link that will be posted in the chat and to make the most generous donation and pledge that you can. Even though we aren't on the ridge, we are creating our holy place together. You can also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. And we thank you so much for doing your part to sustain this community that we love. And now if you would please join me in our congregational response. In the spirit of compassion and service, we dedicate these, our offerings.
As you share our offerings, I want to at this time offer two special songs. I was listening to the beautiful, beautiful story that Sierra selected, and it is so appropriate, a song for all ages. And it helps us looking back as we move forward. When lift every voice and sing. And so I wanted to share the song, to just sing it one through, and if you know it, please sing along with me. It goes like this. Here we go. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. And rejoicing rise highest the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has brought us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on until victory is won. Every time I sing that song, it just gives me such encouragement and inspiration, knowing that it began back in 1905 when that song was first sung, and it has as much power as it does now. So, to segue into my presentation, the other thing that kept going through my head as I was listening to the story and today was the concept of passing it on. Passing on the stories, passing on the journey, And my sister Diane, Dr. Diane White Clayton, who wrote the first song, You Are Welcome, also wrote this song called Pass It On. And I just want to sing that as a way to segue into the discussion about African American music and what it is. And this is not forgetting our stories because they all matter. And like all the music I'm doing, if you know it, you can sing along. And if you don't know it, you can still sing along. Pass it on, 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 ooh, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. All the pain, all the tears, all the struggles through the years, how we suffered tribulations, pass it it on. When it seemed our hope was gone, with our faith we carried on, and the Lord gave us strength to overcome. Oh, pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Oh, pass it on. 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 Yes, yes, yes. I have to take a moment, y'all, after each song. It's like, yes! Okay, I'm back. I'm back. All right. Now I would like to flow into our presentation called Singing in the Spirit, and I'm going to use my trusty PowerPoint for part of it. And I'm just going to give you just a little combination of stories and a little bit extra stuff mixed in the songs. Okay? It's called Singing in the Spirit. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. Let me see. Here we go. I'm going to share this screen with you. And it is under slideshow. I will put it from the beginning. Singing in the Spirit, African American musical connections. So if I were to pretend, which I've already kind of done, that we're in a service in the African American tradition. And service is about to begin. And before we do that, come on and bless the Lord. Before we do that, maybe a devotional period where someone stood up and says, "What do you know about Jesus?" What do you think happens? People say, excuse me, you in the wrong place. You better sit down. Not. They sing back and they sing, "He's all right." And then the response is, "He's all right." So y'all can really sing that. He's all right. And he's all right. And so now, if we were going to do it in the full aspect, like we have done a little bit already, we would add piano, we'd add hand clapping, we'd add all kind of voices, so it'd go like this. What do you know about Jesus? He's all right. Do you know about Jesus? He's all right. He's a mighty good doctor. He's all right. He's a mighty good doctor. He's all right. Yeah, yeah. And there we would be gone. There'd be gone. And so if we think about music in what we call the African American tradition, it has several elements that are prominent. That complex rhythms, hand clapping, the foot stomping with predominance of percussion, call and response. I sing, you respond. Improvisation, making it up as you go along, and movement and dance. Now, you'll find these elements in all kinds of musics, but when they are prominent in this way, we talk about music in the African American tradition, or being influenced by that. Variety of timbre, timbre's tone color. It has to do with the difference between my piano and my voice. The tone color. And also talking about different vocal techniques. With the growl, all that good stuff. All on purpose, y'all. It's not accidental. But using that in helping to sing this music. Now, I'm saying, what the heck is this African American music? Where did it come from? How did it get here in the United States? How did we get here? And then from there, looking a bit at the way it has impacted our world. Beside being these elements, one thing I want you to know is that it is an art form that could only have happened here. This music by this people in the United States, people of African descent who were brought to this country, and over 200 years, they had shared experiences, which was influenced by the Western culture as well, language and music and all those kind of things. And out of it was created the culture that we call African American, and the music, African American music. So to get a better sense of it, we need to just take a step to Africa for just a tad. So come with me to the motherland. Some of you may have already lived or traveled in parts of Africa. This is where I'll be talking back to y'all about it. But when you think about Africa, I really have to tell my students it's not like the United States where you have a lot of different little states in one big sort of general connected country, but it's hundreds and thousands of languages and cultures and woo. And so you can get everything from the Sahara Desert to mountains to the forest to the rainforest to the plains. So looking at this diverse continent that we call Mother Africa, how could there be any generalities that would help us in this discussion? Well, I'm glad I asked that question. So what happens is, if you think of it from the lens of African American, from the US, not that, European lens, put on your glasses, and you look at pre-colonial, traditional Western Africa in terms of the way they looked at the world. So I'm looking at particularly below the Sahara Desert, sub-Saharan. There are some ways of looking at the world that we can generalize. And one of them would be that music is a part of our life. And before I go more into music, I would say that was always the sense of a creator, God. That is just prevalent to the way of understanding and engaging in the world. There is a creator. And in this particular culture and form, if you say that this creator doesn't exist, people think something's wrong with you, because that's how we understand our being and everything. So the idea of a creator is a very prominent one and continued, because many of these traits we're going to find are retentions African people brought with them as they moved to other parts of the world. Another one has to do with the fact that music is part of all life. The first kings and queens and first astronomers, first astrologists, first seafarers were on this land. And music is there from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep at night. If a woman is pounding the grain to make her meal, there might be a song with it. If the men are fishing and they have the fishing nets out and they're pulling them in, there'll be a song involved in it. There have been occasions when someone is going to harvest the crops. So they hire a drummer out in the fields to play along with. Can you imagine being out in the heat trying to harvest crops and having a drummer next to you? It really helps things get along. There have been occasions where there's been a boxing match and there's a drummer in each corner. Music is so much a part of life and everything that I have not even found a word that is translatable for music as an abstract art form that you sit and you listen to. There are songs, there are dances, music in this way. And in fact, in this setting, if you say, I can't sing, I don't really sing, you are saying you do not exist. Let it marinate, y'all. In this worldview, if you say, I can't sing, you are saying you do not exist. Why? Because only you can sing your song. Only you can sing your song. Now, it might be a little different. I don't know about the tune. It might be, whatever, but it's yours. And that's the important thing when we talk about. So folks will go and they will be in these African communities, and then some African American tradition, everybody's singing. Well, yeah, everybody talks. Everybody's moving and dancing. Well, yeah, they move. It's like that. Okay, so these are some of the other characteristics. Now, normally, if we were together in person, I would have us sing an African song and do some of it, but I'm going to just do it real quickly because of our time constraints. And so we were doing the welcome song, Funga Alafia, and I asked y'all to sing, Ashe, 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 Ashe. The second part would be, Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. So it'd be, Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe, Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Now, if we were creating something in the West African performance practice, we would have drums right at the center of it. We would have dancers. We would have the community all around, and they would be singing and participating in a communal kind of thing. And so that is very similar to what we just talked about in the African American setting. The same elements. We would have complex rhythms, 4 or 5 different rhythms within the drums, just like with the piano and the voice and the melodies. We had different rhythms. We would have maybe call and response. There'd be improvisation. Y'all see where I'm going with this thing? When we talk about African American music, we're talking about music that has African retentions, which are prominent. And remember, I'm not saying that only African music has these elements. I'm saying, but these particular ones are very prominent. So I want to move us now from Africa back to the United States and the people that and culture that emerged. The way I like to do it is sharing with you my experience when I was in Ghana, West Africa, the first time. And since then, I've taken many other times taken students to study. Backing up a minute, for hundreds of years, Africa was one of the major places for natural resources. I mean, it still is, but particularly 1600, this coast was called the Ivory Coast because of ivory, the Gold Coast because of gold, and also the Slave Coast because it was the place where millions of slaves were bought and sold to this. And so here's Ghana over here by the equator. And when I take students to go and to study every time, I've been at like about 10 times now with the groups and then separately, we stop at this place, which is now an international museum. This is a fort right off the coast. If you'll see, there's blue, beautiful water, white sands, palm trees. And this fort is where enslaved people would be kept for months until they died or they were sold into slavery. Now, how did they get there? I stood on this spot and I marveled at what it took for me as a person of African ancestry to stand on the spot where my ancestors thought they would never see again or their issue. And I realized that there would have been wars within the continent. People would be captured and sold and marched up to places like this. Or you could be just going out to pick some plantains and somebody snatches you up and sells you into slavery. So many did not survive that. If they survived that, they'd be in spaces like this. The upper areas where the governor stayed with the soldiers, and the lower areas, the dungeons, are where the enslaved people would be kept. And this one, walking down it would always take me time to. The closest thing that I can think that is similar to this is when I went to a Holocaust museum. That's the closest thing that I can remind that would tell me how this felt to be in this space. And below the ground is a little slit for light and air. Hundreds of men would be kept. They wouldn't have clothes. There'd be ditches that was your bathroom. You'd have, many would not make it. Then there was another one for women, just as horrendous. And if they survived the horrors of that, I won't go into the details, then they would be sold into slavery. That's or else they died, like I said. And then if they did that, this was big business, y'all, for hundreds of years, big money. So there would be the trade from Africa, there would be to the West Indies, and then to North Carolina, and then there would be rice silk things going up into Europe, and then those other manufactured things coming back to Africa and going on and on. And so particularly the slave trade from Africa to the United States, this particular slide has about 10 to 15 million people that traveled on the ships in these routes. Now there was trade back up to the Europe, but I'm talking about the folks that ended up in North America, in the US. And you can see the travel. And while this says 10 to 15 million, they really have no idea, because for every 100 people, 40 didn't even make it. So we just know it's millions of folks. So they would be put on these slave ships like this, packed in Uh, um, and it would be horrendous, as you might imagine. You could be chained to somebody who was sick, who was dead. There were rodents. There was disease. And then people were on this for up to 2 weeks, and the slave ship captains, big money, would pack as many people as they could. They died. Well, they had insurance. And so if you survived that, then there would be places in the Caribbean just like the places that we saw in Africa. And even in the United States, if you notice, all of these ports are where African people would be sold, bought and sold for quite a time until it was outlawed. And then it continued to be people that were bought and sold within the United States when they stopped the trade from outside. They just continued. And so once you get to the United States, these are people who now are told as black people that they must be slaves, not just till they work it off, but for the rest of their lives and their children's lives, called chattel slavery, very different from slavery in other parts of the world at that point. And scientific theory said these black people are not quite human. My picture as a black woman would be next to that of donkeys and dogs. Why? We're in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But we need to have some kind, that doesn't go together. But what's happening is that we have to have some kind of narrative to adjust and talk about these black folk, because we have 200 years of free labor. That's what slavery was. And what can you do with 200 years of free labor? You can build you a country. Just think about it. Think about it. And so these things were perpetuated. These black people, they are dangerous. You gotta, or they're not really that bright. They're an aberration. So that this could continue. So as a person of African descent, you're in a place that is really scary, and you don't know if you're going to even live the next day. African people in the U.S. said, if you want to know what your life, how much your life matters, take your finger, stick it into a puddle of water, pull it out, and see how long the hole stays there. Yes, because as a woman, my children might be sold tomorrow. As a man, I would have to see the family I loved being abused, and I couldn't say anything. I look eye to eye to a white person, I'm dead. I wanted to leave to go to another place, I'm caught, beaten or dead. If I want to learn how to read, and if I was caught as an enslaved person, the stories are that their eyes were burned out. If they tried to speak in the African language and they were caught, their tongue was cut out. Okay, this is the life these folks were living in. But they not only survived, but they were able to overcome powerful people. And through this, what did they do? They sang. Because just like music was a part of our life in Africa, they were able to sing. Not use their drums, because that was dangerous. They could communicate or talk in their own native language, but they could sing. So I want to share a song with you that is one of these first songs that emerged in the U.S., the spiritual. I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow. I'm lost in this wide world of woe. No hope if I for tomorrow. I've started to make heaven my own. Sometimes I'm tossing and driven, Lord. Sometimes I don't know where to go. I've heard of a city called heaven, and I've started to make it my home. I've started to make it my home. They call those sorrow songs, the spiritual. Not because they were all sad, but they came out of the institution of slavery. Don't you know that was the United States' first, if not the first, one of the first folk music? Could only have happened here. out of the midst of this tragedy and horror, evolved this beautiful music, powerful music, and a powerful culture. One that has impacted people around the world. We've heard spirituals this morning from the ones, and they speak to life. They speak to the pain and sorrow and hope and joy. They speak to life. So if you want to know what African American culture is about, you listen to their song. These songs, even though the songs came out of slavery, the emotions are universal. That's why they're sung and loved all over the world. Whether I'm in Europe, in parts of Europe, and parts of Africa, whether I was in not Portugal, but part of Eastern Europe, spirituals. Everybody knows them and loves them. So one would be, for instance, one that you all know would be Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Immediately when people sang, they were connected. They were not alone. They were part of a community, and it was something bigger than self. So even if I don't see a change, maybe my children's children will. The I in this music is collective. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home, a band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. There were songs, and of course there was the idea of God and the Creator, but it was an inviting kind of story. If you're part of the culture, you sing it. And sometimes there are codes, so it might not be just talking about heaven and death, which might not be a bad thing in this situation. But it might also be about escape, about moving to a better place, in literally. So they had many meanings. There were hundreds of these songs, and they impacted our country. There's so many, Steal Away, and we've heard several already today. And then they became, there were people who were formally trained in music, and they took these folk songs and rearranged them for classically trained singers and choirs. And so that's where we get the concert spirituals, another brand new form only in the United States. And so we moved from that and stopped there. And this music impacted all of the music we talk about, folk music, that I've been looking at in the United States. Blues, later in jazz, R&B, soul, country and western, bluegrass. All these musics can go back to the spiritual and the early African-American forms and look at ways in which it either influenced it or came directly out of it. And one of the most prevalent, where I'll stop, is gospel music, which is today's spiritual. Gospel is about today. It's about joy and thanksgiving. It's about celebration. The spirituals would be in the dialect back then, keep your hands on the plow. Hold on, in the story. Today, it would be Jesus can work it out. Light bill due, telephone disconnect, waiting on my next paycheck. Jesus can work it out. You know, that's the day. And so we'll close this section by the song that was done by the great Thomas Dorsey. And you can sing along with this. It goes like this. It's the highway to heaven. I kind of walk up there, but the pure in heart. It's a highway to heaven. I am walking up the King's highway. And we would sing this in church, and the people would be marching in, just stepping, y'all, stepping, just marching in, the choirs, and hands clapping and rejoicing. And that would be how we would start our Sunday morning service at my church in Washington, D.C., where my daddy was the pastor for 44 years. Yes, indeed. And also these songs would be used, spirituals and things like the civil rights movement. People just took the songs, shaped them, and used them as they needed to. Constantly. So I'm going to stop there, take a pause, and go, because I've given you lots of stuff. And taking a moment, as I look at all of those and I just take a breath and reflect and meditate. What's the story here? What's the thing, the takeaway? For me, there are many. And I also love to hear from you because I know you have many as well. One of them is the power of the human spirit that continues to go throughout all odds and continues to rise. And I am a living witness of that because my daddy's grandmother was what they called an incubator. My granddaddy was born in 1862 or something before the Civil War, so he was a slave. It's real close in my family. I never knew him, but she was an incubator. Her job was to breed. Now, if she, as a woman, could survive what she did to the point that I can sit here today, what do I really have to be worried about? I mean, there's stuff, but you know what I'm saying? I got strong power in me. And if you look at every culture I've looked at, there are stories of people who've overcome tremendous odds. This happens to be mine. This happens to be mine. So I want to sing a song with you to close it out for meditation. And I'll stop the share on that. And the song is A Balm in Gilead. Balm, B-A-L-M. Healing oil. One of my students said, "It's a balm, B-O-M-B?" I said, not. A balm in Gilead to heal the sin sick soul. And this particular arrangement came about because the chaplain at Berea College wanted to do a special service after 9/11 took place. And he said, "Kathy, would you sing Balm in Gilead?" And so this arrangement just came as we meditate on the healing power of music. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul, to heal my wounded, broken spirit, to heal the sin-sick sin-sick soul. Okay, give me a minute. As we move now to our hymn for this meditation, Spirit of Life, one that you sing every Sunday. I am so added unto because it just fits with our story. Sing it with me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind is in the sea, moving the hand, giving life a shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. And I say amen. And amen. So I think, y'all, we are ready for the closing hymn. Now, this song is about light because we are living, we each have a light. And it's powerful, y'all, and it's wonderful. So let's sing about our light. And I have two versions of this song. One is by India Ari, who's a wonderful R&B singer, who says, I am light. And then I just has to sneak in there the spiritual, this little light of mine. Okay, so you'll get it after you hear it the first time. Y'all ready? Here we go. I am light, I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind, 'cause I am light. Come on with this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, sing with me, y'all. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now everywhere I go, oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, yes. Everywhere I go, y'all, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Woo! Shine on, y'all. Shine on, shine on. Now I'm supposed to say something after this. I think it's like the benediction. I've just been singing my story, just singing my heart out, and I've just been feeling your love as I do it and sharing it. My heart is open, so open. I really feel like I could fly without the plane, but I won't try it. I won't try it. Okay. What I want you to do is to be inspired, be affirmed, and be uplifted. Let these songs and these stories compel you to joy, to choose joy and to choose hope. Because that's what it's about. It's about life. It's about experiencing and sharing your light and saying, you know, I matter. I exist. I'm a beautiful creation. And I deserve to be here and enjoy that. Know that each of you are precious light, a gift from God, from the Creator. Hold up your light. Walk in your light. Live in your light as we make positive changes in the world. Because Alice Walker says, we are the ones we've been waiting for. The time, y'all, is now. So I will turn it over to our next person, who is Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Bullock. I don't sort of want this service to end. It has been extraordinary in every single way. And I also don't want to extinguish our chalice, but we sort of officially need to do that to close our service. But we certainly will not extinguish the light that has come from you and from the service today. So if you can grab your candle or your chalice and join with me as we say our extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. And now Joe Gelati will offer words of recognition for our veterans.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Gelati, and I want to begin by thanking Dr. Bullock for that wonderful, inspiring, and uplifting service. It was magnificent. Traditionally, here at UUCD, we conduct a brief remembrance on behalf of Veterans Day twice a year, Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And as you all know, Veterans Day was this past November 11th. President Dwight Eisenhower in 1954 issued the first Veterans Day proclamation, which states, in order to ensure proper and widespread observance of this anniversary for all veterans who served the country in war and peace. This holiday is largely intended to thank and remember living veterans for their sacrifice. My brief comments this morning come from the book Recognition Denied by Kenneth Brown. The following information was surprisingly new to me, and perhaps will be to some of you as well. Recognition Denied is a history of Black veteran soldiers in the American Civil War. This book pays tribute to all of those brave soldiers and at last provides the recognition they deserve. In addition to Black service during the Civil War, one of the major themes of this book is to show some of the foremost achievements of the Black race benefiting mankind. Recognition Denied briefly shows Black achievement of detailed, well-researched history of the Black military contribution to the Union during the American Civil War. This book also evaluates the contribution of many key individuals in supporting of the Black soldier. Some of those key individuals include a Black teenager, Susie King Taylor, who served as a seamstress, nurse, and educator of Black soldiers. Colonel Thomas Worthington Higgins, the first commander of a Black Civil War slave regiment. General Benjamin Butler, who propelled Black soldiers through many victorious battles, including a battle which witnessed the awarding of the nation's highest honor to 14 soldiers. The awarding of these 14 congressional medals in one day's battle was an achievement never equaled in all of American history before or after. The book also includes abolitionists William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass. Douglass was a disciple of Garrison whose persistence led to the status of the Black man being changed from citizen to soldier. John Brown, who would unwittingly use other abolitionists to carry his life and death struggles from the North to the South. Now, this is the part that I didn't know. And this is what has brought me to this talk this morning. More than 200,000 Black soldiers served and 40,000 died during the American Civil War. I find this fact inspiring, and astonishing at many levels. The purpose of this book is also to give those brave soldiers at last the recognition they deserve, and to give the race the benefit of the knowledge of their history, therefore installing pride. And in conclusion, Recognition Denied shows how the banding of all races in America can come together and solve some of the major problems in the country. We'll conclude this morning with the playing of taps. Now, normally we would stand, but in this situation, remain seated. However, you can put your right hand over your heart if you choose. Next, put your thoughts and your full attention on all veterans who have served the United States of America, past and present. No, the other one.
Thank you so much, Joe. We will now move into our post breakout groups. And I would like to say before we do that, a special thank you to Barbara Myers, who is really responsible for inviting Dr. Bullock today. And what we'd like for you to do in your breakout groups is to reflect and share your thoughts on the stories and the music of the African American experience that you've learned about today.